Hello, I'm Amanda Berlin, and I'm here again with Don Oland. Hey, Don, how are you doing?
Good, Amanda. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited. We're back together again for another video series. This time we are anticipating Valentine's Day and also kind of coming in on that whole start of the new year, time for a fresh beginning. We're talking about how to have a better year together in your relationship with your partner. So many times, I think that we wish things were a little bit different. Our relationship needs a little tweaking, but we find it hard to figure out how to have those all important conversations, especially when it starts off with, "Hey, can we talk?" There's like this instant reaction to that phrase. And then within the context of those conversations, I think things tend to get off track. And I think we need a lot of guidance around that. How do we avoid that leapfrog effect when we're kind of jumping over each other and getting so far away from the original point that we wanted to focus on during our conversations? So I want to ask you, Don, I know you have some tips for us on how to initiate these conversations, how to get the ball rolling, and then how to make them really productive. What can you tell us?
Well, I like your illustration of the leapfrog, because I'm imagining these frogs on lily pads, they're on their own lily pad, or maybe they start off on the same one, and then they start to croak, and then one jumps to this pad on this issue, and then the other one jumps
Right.
on this issue, and that sort of thing. And before you know it, they're clear across the pond, jumping from pad to pad, and not really having a good time. It's just
Right.
worse and worse and worse. Just a lot of croaking, but no really conclusions to that other than we.
Yeah. And they're in their own worlds. They're not even paying attention to each other anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So, and having a better year together, what I'm talking about, and it may seem a little intimidating, it's getting on the same pad and staying
Right.
on that. And the only way to do that is you cannot have a gripe session. So when I'm talking about coming together, really what I'm saying is the agreement that when we sit down to talk, we're not going to bring out our list of things that we don't like about each other or that bother us or annoy us, because that just turns into that leapfrogging argument that you were getting at earlier. In order to stay on the same lily pad of discussion, what we want to do is come together and say, how can we be better? So terminology, vocabulary is going to be really key. So
Right.
the way I say to the couples I work with, avoid the you statement. We can be better this year if you would be better at. We can have a better year together if you weren't so. That is not going to work. So the terminology is going to be better suited with using we and I statements. So I think we can be better together this year if we both concentrated on, let's say, listening better to each other. We have a tendency to talk over each other. I think we could have a better year together if we cooperated more together with each other. So there's
Right.
fill in the blanks around that we can be together, have a better year together by doing more of this or doing less of that.
Right. And it also sounds like that practice kind of elevates the conversation. So you're not pointing fingers and blaming and calling your partner out for these little things that happen, like leaving clothes on the floor or leaving, I don't even know, some cliches that come up. But it really forces you to kind of think about what are we confronting here as a team?
Yeah, as a team, we want to be allies, not adversaries. I mean, most couples are pretty good at the adversarial conversation, but those end up poorly. And then they end up really feeling hurt and angry toward each other, and there's that emotional distance that starts to happen. What
Right.
about is a little more safe conversation that says, let's be the evaluators of us and say, we can do a better job at this year. So it's really more of a positive focus. It's building and developing strengths as a couple, as opposed to, pointing out faults and deficits because we don't respond well to that. We resist that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So if we are using the we term and we are committed to staying on the same lily pad and focusing on what we can work on together, what do you suggest we talk about in this first conversation?
Yeah, I would say, I would say if I could give um, advice or a recommendation of what to focus on, is making the dialogue about how we can be better at communicating with each other. Because one of the
Right.
I see most with couples is they do talk over each other all the time. And everyone's making their point of view. So it kind of goes back to the frog leaping on the different issues. So maybe we could be better at communicating by listening, by slowing down and really listening, and not just listening in our head, but listening in a way that our partner knows. So I'm going to go to the next point. After you listen, tell the person what you heard. So what you're saying to me is this.
Hmm.
Call that listening to understand or validation, or
Right.
restating what we hear. It slows communication down and it communicates a very powerful message to our partner. And that message is what you have to say matters to me.
I could see how that would be really important. And within the context of that conversation, it sounds like an exercise in communicating about communicating.
It actually is. It,
Yeah.
but this is where most couples derail is they start to talk and they're not listening very well and they're just pitching their points and no one's being really heard by the other because again they're
Right.
jumping from lily pad to lily pad. So I would say that. The second thing I would recommend couples do in this coming together this year is to, and it's going to take a little vulnerability and openness. And this is what couples need, though, is openness because we're not perfect people, we're imperfect people. And if we can relax with that, then we're more open to hear some feedback.
Right.
And what is one thing you would like me to work on this year in the relationship that would help you? Not
Hmm.
what is one thing that would really help you if I were to focus on that. So it's this one thing you're thinking about the entire year and you're working on.
Right.
Are doing that and the guy's offering it to the girl and the girl's offering it to the guy, then they're opening up to respond to what each other needs.
Yeah. And I think that even just shifting the way that we respond or react to each other in one area can have a huge impact simply because we feel heard and understood and like someone is putting effort toward making our lives better.
Yeah, and you know what it does? Research says it increases positive sentiment in the relationship. And what that positive sentiment simply means is we feel pretty good together. We kind of like each other now. We enjoy being in each other's presence. We feel like we're friends, like we're soulmates, that we're lovers, that we're good together. We take it
Right.
back. And that is so allied in nature, not adversarial.
Right. Yeah. And it works in so many different areas of life too. It works in business. It works in your personal life. It works in friendships. When someone feels like you understand them and that you're taking care of them, the relationship flourishes. And I definitely noticed that as a marketer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You see it all the time, and your
Yeah.
clients so well to it. I'm one of them, and that's really good at. And there's two things I think that are fundamental in human relationships, and you just said one of them: the need to be understood, and the
Yeah.
second, the need to feel like you matter or you're being cared for. And
Hmm.
when you stop and listen to somebody and you convey some kind of understanding, you don't have to necessarily agree with everything you hear, but just to try to understand it, the person feels respected and cared for, and they're going to want to reciprocate most times.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we're talking about making a pact to not attack each other during this initial conversation, talking about what you can do better for the other person, being a little bit vulnerable, being willing to hear what you could do differently, throughout the year, that one thing. And then finally, what's your last tip for us to really make good on this pact to come together this year in our relationships?
Yeah, I'd say come together with your calendars. And here's what I mean. So often we plan out our calendars for everything. We plan them out for our jobs, the trips we have to take, our kids' events, sporting activities. We plan out our calendars for, let's say, our workouts, for extended family events, getting together with our friends. So the calendar gets chock full pretty quickly.
Right.
Do couples come together and sit down with their calendar and say, all right, let's plan our time.
Mm-hmm.
Plan some time for us and let's get it in the calendar. Now, let's say we're going to do it. We're going to try to find the time for it. No, let's make the time for it now. Whether it's something as simple as a weekly date or by monthly date, or it's something even a little more exciting like planning out a weekend coming up where we're gonna save some money, put it aside, and we're gonna do a weekend together. So you have something you're looking forward. So what I say is come together, sit down with your calendars, and plan something out and put it in there. Get it in.
I like it. Right. If it's not written down, it's not happening.
In there, we tend to get it done. And it's all
Yep.
a strong message. See, the things that matter to us, you'll see them in the calendar.
Yep. Exactly. It makes it real.
It does. It makes it real. So I
Yeah.
say, sit down together then. After you have this nice conversation, how we can be better, you come together and say, here's a couple things we're going to work at as a couple. Here's some things I'm going to focus on for you. Now let's sit down. Let's kind of get excited and let's think about how we can be better just by going out, and having good times together, or taking on a hobby together, taking,
Yeah.
whatever that is. And let's put it on the calendar. Let's make it happen.
I like it. I like it. So we're making a pact not to attack. We are asking our partner, what's one thing that we could do better to improve their experience? And then we are making time to spend time together one on one. That sounds like a good plan so far.
Yeah, yeah.
And I understand, Don, that you have a special offer for people watching this video if they want to dive into this work a little bit deeper. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I know some couples are probably thinking, wow, we'd love to do this, but you know what? It might help if we had someone help us with it. Like, just get us started.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
as you know, I'm a relationship specialist. I do a lot of interpersonal counseling and marriage counseling, that type of thing here. I'm also a board certified executive coach, so I work with people on self improvement, and I do relationship coaching as well. And that's something I can do online through, FaceTime or Skype like this.
Yeah.
Or
Mm-hmm.
so, what I would like to offer the first 5 couples that reach out through my website, I'll give you a 30-minute session for $50 for that 30-minute session. You can have as many sessions as you want during this time over the next couple of weeks. And the goal is just to kind of coach you through it. So 30 minutes, and that is a great rate. I'm giving you a pretty
Sure.
cut there. So if you're interested, I'd say jump on that real soon because you're not going to find a deal like that very much.
Yeah, I think it's really valuable, and especially because we get to engage with a third neutral party who is actually an expert and trained in this kind of interpersonal communication. So it seems like a really valuable opportunity.
Yeah, and I do that because I'm passionate about couples and really want to see them succeed. And so this is my way of investing in you. So jump on it
That's
because
great.
it's fast.
Great. Excellent. All right. Well, that was really insightful and productive. And thank you so much for the great tips and insight. And Don and I will be back with you, our viewers, next week for 5 habits to succeed in your year together, in your relationship this year. So we talked about setting the stage. Now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty in actual things you can do, new habits to implement in order to improve your relationship this year. Sound good, Don?
Fantastic, Amanda. Look forward to meeting with you next week and covering those 5 habits. And really excited about what couples are going to do. So, by the way, again, that's donoland.com and go to the contact session if you want to sign up for those coaching.
Fabulous. DonOlin.com. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Amanda. See you next week.
Bye.